welcome abruptly to another episode of the Jesus Cartel. With me, per usual, Mr. Clay Russell. Clay, how are you doing, buddy?
Hey, my name is Clay Russell, and I'm happy to be here.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
What's been going on?
You know what? Life is great, and everything is really good. We've had a lot going on, but at the same time, everything's really cool, and things are going well. You know, we got some bad weather this week, got some more coming in, trying to make preparations for that. But, man, God is still God, and life is good.
Yeah. Yeah, the weather situation. So I hate the cold. I think I've said that a lot. In this particular situation, it's supposed to be surrounded by the cold. Also, potentially putting out our power
Heat
locally.
source.
Yeah, which will make it colder. And so, while I don't ever like the cold for any reason, as someone who is very over-prepared for things to happen in life, we're going to be fine. We won't be cold.
You got blankets.
I enjoy the opportunity to reveal how prepared I am for emergencies. And so it's like, nobody knows the things I have till we need them, and then you'll find out that I have them. And
So your big plan is matches and blankets.
oh yeah, thick blankets. Yeah,
I like it.
There was a guy one time. He was having like some breathing issues, some chest pain, stuff like that, and there was somebody at the scene that was like, "Man, I wish I had a." Like, it was like a EMT had seen. It was like, man, I wish we had a pulse ox here so I could get a look at his oxygen. I said, I've got one in my truck. You want me to go get it? And they just looked at me. They're like, why do you have one in the truck? I said, situations like this. Right. For this exact moment is why I have one in my truck. And he's like, who has one of these? I said, well, actually, I've got two in case there's something wrong with the first one.
Well, something built in our house that really helps is, when we bought our house, we had a really huge propane tank that's under the treehouse that only operates the stovetop. So the oven is separate. It only operates the stovetop, and it was full of propane when we got there. So we now still have 35% in this propane tank, and we have been using it for 13 and a half years. So we, regardless if we have electricity or not, have the ability to cook, provide for our family. Also, it's a heat source. You know, you can leave that on and provide heat there. So that
if you turn
that
the
helps
pilot
too.
lights off, it will also send a pleasing aroma through your house.
There you go.
Just something to consider.
Yeah. So, you know, that helps with things. And so, but we also have a generator and just had an opportunity to acquire another one. So we're going to acquire another one, and because we have a large area. So, yeah, we're getting ready for that, getting prepared, making some major changes for church tonight, and getting ready for that. So we're filming on Thursday morning right now, and we just made the call while we were kind of on air here that we are going to not have church service on Sunday to protect our people, but we're going to actually have it tonight. And so we're going to have it tonight, and we'd like you to come lead a song tonight, and so that's always great. And, hey, everybody's just now finding out about everything, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, what's cool about it
I feel like
this.
I knew before anyone else.
Right, and what's cool about it is this. You're finding out on Thursday morning that you're going to be part of a service tonight that has never happened before. However, all the other people in Jesus Cartel land won't ever even know that till after the service is over.
That's right.
So you're like light years
I'm way
ahead of
ahead.
everybody else.
True.
That's right.
That's true.
So anyhow, we'll be having service tonight, and then we will film it and have it ready for 10:30 on Sunday to where people can see it on social media on Sunday. So this first time we've ever done any of this, so we're putting it all together right now, and it's pretty cool. So it's kind of exciting to do something different.
It is.
Yep.
It is. Man, I'm pumped up. Hopefully I get to make it out there tonight. I do have a gripe. I do have a complaint. Not about that. So someone has, with red marker, drawn on this table over here.
Oh.
Right here, right where my microphone goes. And it's got onto my thumb.
Oh, my.
And also this thumb.
Who
And
else
so-
would even use our table that sits in the corner that's really not ever used?
I don't know, but I'll see to it that they're put down. Yep.
So I wonder if they were using it as a table or if they were like just sitting over on the side doodling and having me there.
I don't know.
Either way, that's kind of
I
difficult.
don't know. But someone will pay for this.
So here's the problem with it. It was for sure a man
Yes,
because we're at the men's center.
that's correct.
There's no women that come in the chapel at any time. And it's a man having a red pen and drawing on somebody else's stuff. That can't be a real man. So I would
say
be
no.
quite confident that whoever did that, you could take them.
Yeah. I'm giving myself at least a 35% chance in that.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. I would give it 100.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to be conservative.
Any man drawing a red pen on somebody else's stuff's not a real man. So, yeah,
Shame
cool.
on you.
But
Yep, so
man,
there's that.
life's good. How's life with the Skulls?
Man, things are going really good. Started basketball last weekend with my 8-year-old. That's interesting.
Are you coaching or helping? Or
I
what you-
did coach the last game because the actual coach was out of the state, just scheduled conflict. But I'm not coaching, no. And,
So you coached one game.
I coached the first 2 games, yes.
So you're 2-0.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
If I was trying to win games for the other team, I am
Oh.
2-0. Yeah. So
that's the reason why you're not the coach anymore.
So we get there, and our team's got like 10, 11, 12 girls on it. And all the other teams have 5, 6. And they, like, you could tell this is not the first time they've played basketball, the other teams. Like, they're very organized. And our girls, we've had like 3 practices.
So they're running layup drills ahead before the game?
Yeah,
Okay.
and our girls are trying to take 3 dribbles, in a row, and so it's brand. You can tell it's brand new to all of our kids. We've got some really athletic kids on the team, and if we would have had like about 3 months, I would say, to really kind of get their bearings underneath them, I think that we could beat the 2 teams that we played for sure. I don't know how much better some of the other teams may be, but I definitely think we could have beat the 2 teams that we played. But it's athleticism does not overcome lack of knowledge, unfortunately. And so, Mindy Wilson is the coach, and she's doing a great job. You only do so much in 3 practices with people that are completely unfamiliar with a game. And that's very much what we're dealing with here. And so my daughter included. She has no clue what's going on, just trying to figure it out. And I would say, genuinely, that they did a really good job for having no idea what was happening. I think that they did an excellent job. But no, we did not scare the winners column. It was never in jeopardy. But it is fun, and my 6-year-old really wants to play basketball. She's not old enough yet, but she really wants to play.
Okay.
And doesn't really care to play softball, but she really wants to play basketball. And so that may be a dynamic swing that takes place in the next couple of years, where she kind of shifts away from softball and more into basketball. Not because we're telling her to. It's just she seems much more interested. Softball and baseball are very slow games, and you got to have some patience to be able to sit out, because the ball may never come to you. You may just be standing out in the field, and then when you go into hit, you may not hit. You may spend 15, 20 minutes consecutively doing nothing. And so Arlen is a bit more fast-paced. And so I'm not sure that will necessarily be her game. And so, but life is good, man. Things are going well. The ministry is overseas. We freed 5 families in the first 19 days of the year, which is like 22 people in 19 days, something like that. We got the medical clinic up and running like we wanted to, treated 217 people.
Man, that's a lot.
Yeah, which is, preventing a lot of cases of slavery and, people that would have to take loans for these medications and stuff normally. we were able to provide those. So on that front, things are going really well. And then the ministry that we're doing here with me and Jeremy Reeves and Trent Williams, Russell Caldwell, and there's several other guys who kind of take part in traveling around and helping preach at some of these churches that are without a pastor right now. Man, it is booming, and doors are opening up and opportunities are opening up. We've got like the next 3 months scheduled out. That's not just Sunday mornings, that's also Sunday nights. And some revival stuff coming up at different churches that are wanting to do some things, and so we're booked solid for a while, and people are growing, and I'm getting text messages about people who that ministry has impacted, and they're saying that they're seeing genuine change in people, and so to have something going overseas successfully and have something going here successfully, and then we're also trying to move into dealing with the orphanages here locally. We're starting to make some turns so that we can do some family freedom stuff here as well. And honestly, man, I've talked about it some last week, but it's like, the coin toss comes up heads every time right now. Mm-hmm. And so we're just, the key there is just keep flipping the coin. Keep flipping it until it doesn't, you know what I mean?
I think that's something that, kind of address a little bit, is that last week we did something that a lot of people don't do, and we talked about all the good stuff, and we talked about how we're living in surplus right now and how things are just going our way and really moving forward. And, you and I haven't talked a lot this week, but we've talked a little bit every day. And, the ceiling didn't collapse. Mm-hmm. Things didn't, just go to pot, or whatever you want to say. It's just because we spoke about good stuff didn't set a course of motion of something bad.
Right.
It's really only increased. Right. Yeah. It's really only increased this week and gotten better. And man, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Jinx is the term. I don't want to jinx it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, stop. You can't live in fear of stuff like that. Don't worry about jinxes. Don't worry about curses. Don't worry about those things. You're shielded by Christ in that. I do want to tell you something, and I shared it this morning with my class, and so I'll make it brief so they don't have to hear every detail over again. But yesterday, you and I had a conversation in the office in front of our entire staff pretty much, where you had a conversation where you feel like you maybe should have asked a question that you didn't ask. Mm-hmm. And then I shared a story of a situation where I felt like I dropped the ball in a situation. Wouldn't you know it, that person that I dropped the ball with showed up at my church last night.
Come on.
Yep. Nice. And I fully took advantage of that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And it was cool, and it was supernatural in the sense of like, one, I was explaining to the guys, it's like, when God's on your team, I talked to him about, because the racquetball situation, where I'm a racquetball and tennis champion, but I'm not great at racquetball or tennis. Right. But the guy I was playing with was so good that it didn't matter. He said, being on the team with God is kind of like that. It's like, okay, the ball came to me, I swung, and I missed it. But he's right behind me, and he hits it, and he says, hey, don't worry about it. I'll get you another one. Yeah. I'll get you another one. And so he's going to keep the volley going for you. You know what I mean? He's prepared these works for us in advance. If I swing and miss, he'll keep the volley going. Don't feel like everything is over with. Like, it's fine. And that was just one of those moments where he's like, hey, man, I heard you felt like you swung and missed. Here's another one.
I like
Give
it.
it another
I
shot.
Like it.
And, dude, I smoked it, you know what I mean? And had a great conversation with this particular person afterwards. It went really well. And it looks like things are going to continue moving forward there in a really positive manner. And so just want to, say that for people who feel like maybe you had an opportunity and missed it. It's like, hey, it's not over. It's not over. The Lord's still in it. He's still with you. He'll come through for you even when we don't come through for ourselves. Yep. And man, I was pretty pumped up about that because it was the very same day.
And that's really cool, and that's and what I thought also was great about that whole conversation is that was a part of the conversation. We had a whole hour-long conversation on different things. And it was so cool because it was like Jesus Cartel with 10 people in the room. Yep. which is the reason why we do Jesus Cartel. If you hadn't been around that long and don't understand that, the whole reason why we do Jesus Cartel is because we have conversations like this all the time, and people just kind of migrate to those conversations. Well, we said, what about if we could create an atmosphere to where we could have these conversations, record them, and then people all over everywhere could hear them also, and it's worked, and people were able to hear this. But we not only have these conversations here, we have them in the office here at Fresh Start, and what a great opportunity to work somewhere where you can have these opportunities and stuff. I don't even know exactly how the conversation started and everything yesterday, but it was a very good, in-depth conversation that could have been a couple episodes of Jesus Cartel. And that was, one of the points there is as pastors and communicators, we're always wanting that one word or that one phrase that kind of ties everything together. I called Tyler Dean about a message a day or two ago that I was going to write, and I said, here's where this message could get sticky. What is the word or phrase? What am I trying to communicate here that can kind of tie it all together to where it's not sticky and it's clear? And as soon as I asked it, I told him the word.
Yeah.
Because you're just talking it out amongst myself before he even had an opportunity to answer. And as soon as I said the word, he goes, that's the word, And so sometimes it's the one word or the one phrase or the one idea that makes everything clear. Well, so what we were talking about, I had a conversation with a young man, and we're having a conversation, and I asked a lot of questions, and he gave me a lot of information. But there was one question that I didn't ask that I should have asked. Because when I go back to talk to my friends about the conversation, the next day, the very first thing they said is, well, how do you answer this question? And I was like, that's the reason why I woke up at 1 o'clock this morning, because I didn't ask that question. That's the question I didn't ask. Yeah. And you could tell they're all like, but if you would have asked that one, you wouldn't have had to ask these 6. And I'm like, that's why I was up at 1 o'clock this morning.
Thank you for making me feel worse.
Ask that question. That would have been the easiest question, and I know that question. But in the moment, I asked around it, but didn't ask it, and it wasn't because I was scared.
No, yeah,
it wasn't.
You could tell by the questions you were asking. It wasn't that you were avoiding it,
right? At all.
Yeah,
that would have been a lot simpler way.
It's kind of like when you type in a destination in your Maps app, and it gives you 3 routes, and one of them just kind of loops around. It was like clearly you just took the loop around, and you were following the turns it would take to get to the same result. But there was just one route that would have just been much quicker.
Well, it would have been much quicker, and because of taking the long way around, sometimes you get more details along the way, but so you get to see more. It's called scenic route. Yeah. So you get to see more things, but sometimes you don't ever fully make it to the destination, or if you do, you don't have enough time when you get there. And that's kind of the way this was, is that I had a lot of information based on the conversation, but what we really want to know, I really didn't have the answer to. I have assumptions, but I don't have the answer because I didn't ask. Yeah. And it wasn't that I was scared, because I asked tougher questions.
Sure.
It's just that would have been an easier way. And so when we're communicating, we're always looking for that clear answer. I mean, that's the reason why I called Tyler about the deal is, what's the word man, that red thumb you got is difficult.
Dude, it's 2 of them, brother. It's 2 of them. I have 2 red thumbs. I think that's red. Is that red?
It is pink or
that's
red.
Even worse.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to call it pink just so it'll make you mad when you go find out who it was.
Well, if I wasn't colorblind and I knew what that looked like, boy, I'd be frustrated. I hear it's terrible.
Pink is terrible for guys. So, but I called Tyler Dean for the one word. Why? Because we want to tie it all together. And the word was a word that I know real well. It's really one of the words that I build my life on. And when we got ready to talk it out, I was able to share that. So anyhow, just when you communicate with people, we want to be as clear. The word right now is intentional. We want to be intentional. We want to be clear. We want to be deliberate, and we want to be able to do, to ask those questions.
So humility. It takes a great amount of humility to be willing to ask those questions and have those conversations with people around you. We've talked about this a little bit in my class lately. So you as a pastor, you have no obligation to ask anyone else any questions about your sermon. Mm-hmm. You're the pastor. You know, and a lot of pastors or a lot of people in leadership positions, out of fear of seeming weak or seeming unprepared or seeming like they can't do it on their own, won't even ask those questions. So they would have went into that sermon without the word because they're not willing to talk it out because they don't want to appear unprepared. You and I have this kind of, we had a conversation about it just the other day, and
this morning,
and it's similar in the sense of like very rarely, not never, but very rarely when you and I have those conversations is my input the way that things go. But the opportunity for you to talk them out allows you to just kind of lay everything out on the table and take a look back away from it, you know? And so it's like if you're planning a camping trip with a bunch of buddies. Now, you can plan it by yourself, and that's no input from anybody. But if you got, Robert and Jeff and, the Elys and all of them together, and you plan the trip out, there'd be some things where if you're all looking at it together, they would be like, well, have you considered that this might be a problem? And no, I had not considered. But now, because they pointed that out to me, I know the direction that this needs to go. Yep. But I would have never seen it had somebody not pointed out this potential roadblock. And so there's such benefit to humbling yourself and allowing other people to be involved in your process. And people are so scared to do that because
and just so everybody knows, I live my life that way. Not just for sermons, but for everything. I like to surround myself with people that I can ask their opinion about something and them not be upset if I don't use it. And just like you alluded to earlier, if I feel like that if I ask you something and then I have to do it the way that you say 100%, I won't ask you.
Yeah, sure.
About, whatever it is. It could be about hunting. It could be about cooking. It could be about anything. But I have surrounded myself with people that I can ask their opinion and then make my decision. And they're not offended by it. Right. And then we're able to move forward. And here's the reason why. So first off, I try to surround myself with those kind of people. They have good, strong opinions in areas, but aren't so strong-willed that they're pushy about it. Yeah. So I try to stay away from those people and just hang out with these people. But what I don't want is just yes men. They're like, oh, well, you're going to do it great no matter what. I don't need none of that. I need your good, honest opinion, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to formulate it and see what God's telling me about it, and then we're going to put it together, and I do that in everything. I cook really well, but if I'm going to do something that I've never done before, if it's got to do with meat or a grill or something like that, I'm probably going to run it by Jerry Ward.
I knew you were going to say Jerry Ward. Yeah.
Or maybe Jeff to get his opinion or something. But if it's got something to do more with bacon or something like that, I'm going to baking things. I'm going to ask my mom, or something. And so, but what I'm not going to do is ask somebody that's going to say, well, here's the recipe and this is how you do it, and don't have nothing else.
Yeah, don't deviate.
Right. Yeah. Chris Pruitt and I had a conversation one night on a Saturday night.
This is the banker you don't like?
We had a conversation one night on a Saturday or Friday night for 2 hours on how we thought we could make a good macaroni and cheese. You know what I'm saying? Because I was going to make macaroni and cheese.
Time well spent.
Hey, we're watching a ball game, and while we're watching the ball game, we're discussing macaroni and cheese. And a lot of times we would pause the ball game to think of something that would be better. And we just had an idea because I was going to make macaroni and cheese for the church for the first time for 100 people. I don't make macaroni and cheese, but my mom sold me out and went to Atlanta because my sister's her favorite child. And so we're having to make it. And we talked about what we like in a macaroni and cheese, what we don't like, and all that. The next day, Pruitt asked me, the next day I made it, we ate it for church or whatever, and he never one time said, well, you didn't do it the exact way we talked about it, even though I didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was just us needing to talk it out. And, hey, it was a great macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
The exact way we talked about it could have been a great one, too. It's just not the way that we went about it that day. And so I love surrounding myself with people that will offer their opinions when needed, have good, strong opinions, but not in any way try to force you to do it their way or the highway. And man, it makes life so much better, because learning from failure is a great thing, but it doesn't have to be my failure. If I can learn from somebody else's, well, you don't know if you don't talk to them about it.
That's right.
And, Pruitt's like, man, I tried it this way and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
If you want to try it that way, that's fine, but I'm just letting you know. For me, it didn't work out this way, Or Jerry Ward's like, look, man, I finally figured it out. I know they're going to tell you 205, but I also know the way we like our meat. And if you'll do it 197, you're going to like it better than if you do 205. You know what I mean? They know these things. And I do the same thing for other people, man. I offer my advice to people, but at the end of the day, they get to make their own decisions.
That's right.
And I'm not going to say, well, I tried to tell him.
And you got to be okay with that. And you also got to figure out what role you want to play in people's lives. Do you want to be the person who gets asked for their opinion? Because there's a way to do that, and it's by still allowing them to have their own choices.
Yes.
Understand at the end of the day, at your life, with you being the pastor of Thrive Church, and not just with that, but with everything in your life, you are the one who pulls the trigger on everything. I am not the trigger man for your life. I'm not. And it doesn't matter if I'm certain. If you'll just let me pull the trigger for you, then we'll for sure get this kill. It doesn't matter, because there's a breach of trust that happens in those situations, and especially in a situation where maybe I give you my advice, you don't exactly take it. Maybe you take some of it, you don't take all of it, and then you miss. And now I'm here with I told you, right? All that done, I may have been absolutely correct, but what I just did was uninvited myself to the next decision-making process.
Right.
And
now you're not on the table anymore.
Right. And so it's like you got to figure out where you want people to be. Hey, look, man, you took a shot. You thought that was right. We'll make some adjustments. We'll get it next time.
I want people to know that it's not just the pastor in charge of a church. It's in your own life.
Right.
It's in everything. And now, don't misconstrue this conversation with very important decisions that have one obvious answer. Because what we're talking about is, hey, tonight, we're fixing to have a service tonight. I'm not going to preach the sermon that I had prepared for Sunday. I'm going to preach it next week. I got to preach something different. And Andrew goes, hey, you could preach this. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Andrew could have said, you could preach 1,000 different things.
Anything under the sun.
And whatever I preach tonight is going to be great, because God's going to inspire it, and it's going to be great. So Andrew offered a deal. He comes to the service tonight. Whether or not I preach what he talked about or not, he's going to have a great time of service no matter what tonight. Yeah. However, if I have a major decision to make in my life, and I bring Andrew in because he is the expert in this area, and he knows for a fact this is what we're supposed to do in this deal, and I go totally rogue on that, that's different.
Yeah, agreed.
That is different, because I shouldn't have never asked him.
Sure.
But that's not what we're talking about right now, so I don't want anybody to misconstrue that.
Well, I think it's important that you brought that up, and I can see where this episode has turned. I like it. Well, it's the Lord always does something.
Amen.
Because we weren't prepared for today. Anyways, what happens in that instance? So there are some things I have high knowledge in. Let's say for whatever reason you ended up in a jiu-jitsu match, right? You don't need to trust yourself.
Right.
You have no clue. I do. Right? So if you ask for my advice and I give you my advice and then you don't take it, you go get yourself hurt, because that's what would happen. What you just did, even though you're the one who pulls the trigger in your life, what you just did was you stopped me from taking time out to give you advice. Yeah, so next time you're like, hey, look, man, I'm going into another jiu-jitsu match. I'd like to sit down with you again. I'm going to say, hey, man, I don't have time. I don't have time for you. I'm sorry, I can't. Right? And so that's what happens when you deny expert advice in an area that you have no knowledge in whatsoever. Now, if you're well-versed in something and you're asking somebody who's also well-versed in something, you still have some freedom. But when you're going to somebody and you've done nothing but create destruction in that particular area of your life, cooking is a great example. I know some people who absolutely can't cook.
Right.
Just can't. And if they came to you or they came to Miss Leanne or any other number of people that cooks well, and they said, oh, I know that they said that the chicken needed to be cooked to 165, but I figured that 130 it would be more tender. We'll just pull it out at 130. It's like,
No, you're gonna just kill her.
Yeah,
right?
you're gonna kill somebody, right? And so no, you don't have that freedom,
Right.
you know. And so yeah, that's an important thing you brought up, man. Understanding the difference between those two things. And
I remember one time you trained a guy to fight, and you had trained him in jiu-jitsu and stuff, and then he decided to to enter a fight. Really, you didn't decide that as his coach. He decided that, and then you got a game plan together, got it together, and for a minute he followed the game plan, and then he didn't follow the game plan, and so because he didn't follow the game plan, then he didn't have success. Well, after the deal and looking back at it and all that, you're like, hey, you didn't follow the game plan. And if he says, you're right, I messed up, it shocked me, and I didn't, and I should have, which is, what happened. That's one thing. Hey, let's get back to the drawing board. Let's get back to doing the game plan. That way it's just second nature to you,
Yeah.
But if he says, well, I saw that your game plan wasn't going right, so I changed the game plan, and then he miserably failed, you really have nothing you can do with this guy.
yeah,
Unless he has a major heart change, whatever. But at that point, you really don't have anything you can do with that guy.
correct. And you'll see in life that people will wash their hands of you if you do that.
Right.
And that they're not, and you have no right to be upset with them, by the way.
Right.
Because you are asking them to waste their time, and that's not fair. This is the most valuable thing you have. So you can't get more of it. It's all you got. And if it's better spent somewhere else with people who will value and at least consider your opinion, that's where it needs to be, as opposed to somewhere where it's just going to go directly into the trash.
Right. So if I go and talk to Leanne Cureton, and my main concern is, are we going to go with smoked paprika, or are we going to go with regular paprika? And we want to make a decision here. And she offers advice of, look, they're both good, they're both well. It really has to do with your audience. It really has to do with taste. If it was me, if I had more kids and stuff, I would probably go with the regular. But if it was more men and stuff, then I would probably go with the smoked paprika. But you make that call based on your people or whatever. Then whichever one I go with, hey, what I heard was, hey, more guys like the smoke, more other people don't. Let's look at who our audience is and make a good choice here.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, I'm going to make the choice based on some information. And she's going to try it, and either way, she's going to be fine with it.
Yeah.
But if it's something that's real important, it's something that's life and death, something that's going to really hurt somebody, something that could, in relationships, something that could, you can literally kill people for not cooking chicken properly, or whatever. Then you go to the expert. The expert tells you not advice, but tells you what you need to do based off of their expert opinion and them being better at this than you.
Yeah.
And then you totally turn and go the other way. You just probably knocked the expert out of your life.
Yep.
Now, the other side of it is, I love to ask people's opinions all the time. And I surround myself with people that I can do that with, and I know who I can and who I don't. So if you're in my life and I don't ask your opinion, it's probably because I think I can't. It's not because I don't think your opinion's valuable. It's because I don't think that you can give it to me and then me not use it and you be okay with it, right? And so a lot of times I won't. And but I do ask a lot of questions and stuff. But then at the end of the day, I'm going to take those things and I'm going to formulate something. Well, look, when you see part of you in what I do, man, that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And everything. And I like that.
Yeah, when we talked this morning, we discussed an idea that you didn't even really necessarily ask for. It was just kind of adjacent to the original conversation. And I just made a suggestion. I said, hey, consider this. And we talked about it for a second, and I could tell that you were intrigued by the idea. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, yeah, this is it. But you were intrigued by the idea. And I just said, hey, put it in your pocket. Put in your pocket. Keep it. You don't have to use it right now. Maybe it'll come up later.
And what was funny about that is that was this morning, like at 6:15.
Yeah.
Well, then later in the office, like at 7 or whatever, there was another idea thrown out there, and you took it and made it better, and that's probably the one I'm gonna go with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so here it is. You offered 2 totally different ideas in an hour time span or whatever. And I'm probably going to go with the second one.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
which
is not what I would have picked.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's one that you said a variation of what somebody else did.
Yeah.
And so now that other person, because I used a little bit of their idea and a little bit of your idea, then we're all doing it together.
That's right.
You know, and then, you know, in a little while, I'm going to be like, so now what passage do you think would go best with this, you know? And so it's just, I love brainstorming.
Yeah.
I love other people being part of our lives. I don't have just people making decisions for me all the time, but I do like to have people to have input on the decisions that I make.
I do know the passage, by the way. Remind me to tell you afterwards.
I think I know it. But
If you do, I'm going to be really pumped up. It's adjacent to the message you planned to preach originally, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Oh, I thought about that.
Yeah.
But I thought about preaching it later.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyhow, we'll figure it out. Hey, I love it though, man. I look, collaborating with people in life, and I don't want anybody to think that we're talking about preaching. We're not talking about preaching.
No.
We're talking about life.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about life. I taught Cooper. I'm teaching Cooper how to play racquetball right now. And one of the things I told him was one of the things that you said when you and I were playing racquetball together, which was probably like one of the second times you ever played racquetball in your life. And something that you said when we were playing that day is something that I used 10 years later to give to Cooper, teaching him how to play racquetball.
What was it?
Hands to the ball.
Huh?
Because I felt like with his baseball background and that would compute to him because he's never held a racket before. And he was having trouble missing obvious balls. And so balls are coming. He was having trouble missing them because he doesn't know how long it takes to get the racket there and that kind of stuff. And so when you and I played, you said that's what clicked for you when you realized that it was just like baseball, hands to the ball, and that clicked for you. For me, that doesn't compute because I'm not hitting the ball with my hands. I'm hitting the ball with my racket, which stands out from my hands. But I knew that Cooper knew that term and that philosophy from baseball. And so because of that, I used that, and I think it greatly helped him with his vision hitting the ball.
Yeah, and that's a great metaphor too, because it's so wrong for racquetball.
Right.
No racquetball coach would ever say that. You know what I mean? But
to a baseball player.
But for a baseball player teaching another baseball player a sport that's not baseball, it works. You know, and so really utilizing the whole, because there's so many types of, like, I don't have the same background as everybody who listens to Jesus Cartel. We come from very different places, and so if all you get is my advice from my lens through the way that I see life, through the way that I was raised, you may miss some things that are the way that I'm saying them is very obvious to me, and I don't even understand how you're missing it. But somebody who knows me well, but has a similar background to you, will be able to hear what I say and translate it to you.
Yes.
Even though it seems so clear to me, it wasn't clear, but they can make it clear. Yep. And that's one of the other benefits of including the whole. Now, here's the problem. I no longer get full credit for this information. I now have to split this credit with someone else. So if you're somebody who drives your life off of getting credit for everything, you're going to be freaking miserable, and you're going to be unsuccessful, and you're going to hate everybody who tries to help you, because it's going to shove into your ego. It's going to start to diminish how you feel about yourself, and it's going to be rough. And that was me years ago.
Right.
That was me. And so I'm very familiar with what it feels like for you to be protecting your ego over everything else. And it is a miserable existence, and there is no rest, and there is no peace. There is no joy. There is no anything. You've got to let those things go.
Yeah, you know, that reminds me, the reason I'm laughing is because another person that I discuss sermons and stuff with is Jimmy Halsey. And that, is somebody that I just do, some of the main people I discuss sermons with, is you and Tyler Dean and Jimmy Halsey, and then Jeff and Robert and I talk about, biblical things, but we talk about the preaching. And a lot of times, if Jimmy helped with a message or he gave me some idea or something like that, I may give him credit in the message as far as, hey, me and Jimmy was talking about this and he said that or whatever. And he came to me one day after I'd done it once or twice, and he was like, hey, I just want you to know that if I tell you something that you asked for that I think should go in the sermon, or even if I write part of the sermon, or even if you used my sermon or whatever, I don't want you to think that you have to give me credit for it. And I said, well, let me tell you why I do. Because I want people to know that we collaborate.
Yeah.
Because I want people to know that I'm not, just me and nobody else. Number one, I want them to know that their pastor collaborates with other people. Number two, I want them to know particularly that I collaborate with you, because I want them to come to you when they got something going on. And I want them to know that you are smart, that you have these ideas, that you can help them and everything. And he goes, I never thought about it that way. And so I just want you to know, I don't feel like I have to give you credit just because you said it. I am doing that for the people's benefit, not for your benefit. I'm not doing it to stroke your ego. I'm doing it so that other people can see that, hey, grown men in charge of stuff still ask other people's opinions and stuff. And I want them to know that you're somebody that they should ask your opinion about something. So I just think it's good stuff.
Yeah, no, and that's super strong. And man, just the way you go about life, it's, the question that ultimately I had to come to grips with within myself. And this is when I was first kind of coming in my relationship with the Lord. I was about 19, but it was something that I struggled with from about 19 to 23. And so it wasn't like I got saved and my ego just went away. I had to really work through some things and work through letting go of some things and shelving my pride and some stuff like that. And ultimately, the place that I ended up at was a fork that said, do you want to be successful or do you want to be known as important? Because you can't be both. You can't be both. And so I was working so hard to be seen as important and seen as special, like there's something special about him, that I was unsuccessful. But the minute that I started letting people pour into me, stopped trying to get credit for everything, stopped trying to be the guy, and just wanted to have the best outcomes, and started letting people pour in, started listening to other people, taking advice, doing these things, now all of a sudden I'm successful. And the byproduct of that is I still carry some level of importance with people. Now it's not I'm not the guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that was my goal early on, was like I wanted to be the best preacher around, and that was the only goal that I had, was like it really didn't have a lot to do with the kingdom, maybe nothing. It was just about being the best at something, because that's the way I was wired. I just wanted to be the best at everything that I touched. Well, I wasn't. And I wasn't because I refused to learn. I couldn't listen to anybody. Now I'm a much better preacher than I was. Right. Now I don't get credit for doing everything solo, because I don't do anything solo. Everything is collaborated with people. But I also, through that maturing process, I also now don't want that type of notoriety, because if that type of notoriety is on me, it's not on him. And so the bigger my ego is, the less glory he receives for something. So to allow people to pour into me, I mean, that's the kingdom. It's the Spirit of God in them pouring into me. And so it just makes him larger. And Jesus literally is larger than life, and he should be. And so for people to see that clearly, I need to not hide my light under a basket. I just need to make sure that people understand that I'm not the source of this. I'm not the source of this at all.
I like it. This message that I was going to preach Sunday that I won't now, that I'll preach the next Sunday. I talked to Jeff and Robert about it before I ever wrote it. And it's because God had put Daniel in my mind on Sunday night. We were preaching on intentionality. God put the story of Daniel on my mind. Well, Sunday night, I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, yeah, that's probably the direction we're going to go. The next morning, before I ever get out of my truck, Robert sent me back and goes, "Hey, have you thought about preaching Daniel on the intentionality deal?" I was like, "Good, let's talk about it after chapel." And so me and him and Jeff talked about Daniel for a minute. Well, there's a couple things that they said that I wrote down, or several things that they said that I wrote down. Well, then I was trying to weigh things in my mind, and Tyler and I were talking about something else, and I said, "Well, look, how can I say this without saying this and not getting this?" And I said the word, and he goes, "That's the word." So then Tyler gave me a couple more pieces of information. He's like, "I say it like this sometimes," and I said, "Okay," and I went down what he said, and then I wrote half of the message. And then I had a question about something that I thought that would be in your area of expertise. So I called you, and you gave me a 2 lines and a direction. When I wrote those things down. I wrote down the line and I wrote down the direction, that I could go. And so I said, man, that line's going to go perfect in this. But that direction would take me too far around, and I got to get to here. And in order to get to here, I can't go around here. If it was all going to be around this, it would be okay. But down there is where I'm trying to get to. And, I hadn't got to the meat of where I'm at. So for Robert and Jeff, I took 2 of their lines out of the 8 that I wrote down. For Tyler, I ended up taking 1 of them, and for you, I took down the 1 and not the direction. And so, very collaborative. So everybody, that hears that message is going to hear, man, he used that, or I see why he didn't use that now because this is where he was trying to go. Or, man, it's just good stuff. It's just really cool. Speaking of good stuff, we had a great episode.
Yeah, man, and that's just life working the way that it's meant to be. Jerry the other day was talking about, if everybody's afoot, nobody can open the door. And I thought that was a really, really fun. I've never heard anybody say it like that, but all the parts work together. You as a Christian, you got to recognize what part you are. And you need to seek the assistance of the other parts, and that's how life works together. I met with a guy not too long ago to ask some advice on an investing situation, and we ended up talking more about how I invest than how he invests. That's just the way that it went. And so where I was just solely seeking counsel from him, it ended up being very back and forth and a great conversation, and he and I have a lot of good conversations about things in that area now. It was never the intention, but his level of humility, even though he has so much expertise in this area, his level of humility opened another doorway for him just to grow even more, as if he needed my help. But he took the very small portion of information that I have. He has a vast amount of knowledge. He took the small portion that I happen to be okay at, and he was like, "Hey, tell me what you know about this." And so even though I needed the help, he still didn't leave the meeting without something for himself, and that's humility. He could have easily just shot me the advice and been the big man who has all the, but it's not what he did. And he's so successful. And I could see after leaving that meeting why. It was very obvious.
He learned from any given opportunity.
That's right.
Amen.
So, I feel good about it. You good?
Love y'all.